Hello class, I have a question for you all that I have been curious about. We all know that every human needs air to survive, but I'm curious how we know air is really there. When you look around, can you see air in front of you? When you are indoors like I am, can you feel air? Some of you may have answered no to both of those questions. Now, if I take my hand and move it quickly back and forth, now am I able to feel the air against my hand? Or what about when we're outside on the playground on a windy day? Are we able to feel the air or see the air blow past us? Here's a way we can do that inside as well. If I take a balloon and blow it up as I just did, and then let it out, I can almost see the air bursting out of the balloon as I can feel the air on my hand. So now I must ask you, do we know that air really exists, and how do we know that? That is the beginning of our investigation today. Today we are learning about Newton's laws of motion, and we are continuing our investigation about bases and acids. Before we can begin, we need our science journals, and you all need to title this investigation Balloon Rockets, so please do that now. Thank you. Next, we need to list all of the materials needed in this experiment. We will need a measuring cup that measures 1 cup. We will need a measuring spoon that measures 1 teaspoon. We will need baking soda. We will need lemon juice. We will need vinegar. We will need balloons. You may need orange juice if you take on my challenge later today. And you will definitely need 2 clear cups that you can see through, as well as a container with a small opening, such as this lemon juice container, but of course it would need to be empty. You could also use an empty water bottle or a clear soap container with a small opening at the top. Now that you have written down all of the materials, we are going to begin creating a focus question for this experiment. Today we're learning about balloons, what will happen if we put baking soda in a balloon and we cover the balloon over a container full of different liquids, what that will do to the balloon. We're also going to learn about what happens when we mix baking soda and water, as well as baking soda and vinegar together. So please pause the video and create a focus question that you think will help when learning about these different things, or testing out these different things today. Okay, now that you have all written a focus question, I'm going to ask that for today, since we are all doing the same investigation, that we use the same focus question. So the focus question that I wrote down is, how can acids and liquids cause reactions when mixed together? Please write this focus question underneath your focus question, and make sure you don't erase your focus question, because in class I would love to hear about the focus questions you came up with and that we may have used and would have worked just as well or even better. So now that we have our focus question that we are all using, we're going to develop a plan. We need to talk about the concepts in this lesson, mixing bases with acids, and we need to talk about what happens when we deal with baking soda and vinegar. Do you remember first, if baking soda, out of baking soda and vinegar, which is a base and which is an acid? If you said that baking soda is a base and that vinegar is an acid, you are on the right track. So our first experiment, we will need our 2 cups that we can see through. We are going to need our vinegar and water, and we will need our teaspoon, our cup, 1 cup, and baking soda. So we are going to fill one of our cups up with 1 cup of vinegar. The other cup we are going to fill up with 1 cup of water. Before we begin our investigation, we need to make a table so we can make predictions. We are going to make a table with 3 different columns. The first column we will title water plus baking soda. The next column we are going to title vinegar plus baking soda. And the third column is what really happened. So before we go any further in this experiment, I would like you to create your table. Thank you. Now we're going to write our predictions underneath the water and baking soda and the vinegar and baking soda. So when we take our measuring spoon and we put our teaspoon of baking soda into the cup of vinegar and then the second cup with water, I would like you to think right now about what you think will happen. Please pause this video and write your predictions in those first two columns. Okay, so now that we made our predictions, we can begin this experiment. Please pause the video and actually take your teaspoon, put your baking soda into your vinegar, and put 1 teaspoon of baking soda into your water. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, why do you think nothing happened when you put your baking soda into the water? And why do you think a reaction occurred when you took your baking soda and put it into your vinegar? So as we've been discussing, vinegar is an acid and baking soda is a base. When we mix the two of them together, a reaction occurred causing carbon dioxide to be released into the air. Now I have questions for you. With that knowledge in mind, I would like you to write down an answer. First, did you see the gas carbon dioxide when you mixed the vinegar with the baking soda? Were you actually able to see that gas in the air? As kind of at the beginning of this experiment when we looked around to see if we could see the air right now. Were you able to see that gas? Please pause the video and answer that question. Okay, our second question before we begin our next experiment is, do you know that carbon dioxide was present during the experiment when you mixed the baking soda with the vinegar? If you do believe that you know that the carbon dioxide was present, please explain to me how you knew that or why you think that it was. So please pause the video and answer that question now. Okay, I look forward to hearing your responses, what you guys think, and having a group discussion to talk about how answers were different and why. Next, we are going to begin experimenting with our balloons. But first, we need to make another table. This table will have 3 columns as well. The first column will say balloon, baking soda, and vinegar. The second column will say balloon, baking soda, and lemon juice. And the third column, again, will say what really happened. So, I will let you know what we are doing before you make your predictions. So with your container, you are going to, it will be empty of course, unlike mine. You're going to take 1 teaspoon of baking soda and you're going to put the balloon underneath your funnel and then pour the baking soda into your balloon until it comes to the bottom. Then you are going to very carefully and softly stretch your balloon over the top of your container lid. Notice how I haven't dumped the baking soda, which is down here in the bottom of my balloon, into my liquid yet, because I want to be really ready before I do that, and I want to have a tight grip. My balloon is completely covering my bottle. So that is what we're going to container. We are going to have lemon juice in 1 water bottle, and we're going to have vinegar in the second one, just as we wrote down in our tables. So before we are able to begin this experiment, please predict what you think will happen when you take your balloon full of baking soda and you drop it into the container with lemon juice. And then make a second prediction of what you think will happen when you take your second balloon full of baking soda and drop it into your container with vinegar. Please pause the video and make those predictions. Okay, now that you're able to make those predictions, I would like you to actually do this experiment and then pause, and then as soon as you're done with the experiment, fill out the third column of what really happened. Now that you have done what is required, I'm going to introduce the challenge to you. Challenge is taking a third water bottle and filling it with 1 cup of orange juice, and then repeating the process and putting your teaspoon of baking soda into your balloon, but this time it will be over orange juice. So if you choose to take on my challenge and really knock my socks off, as you guys always do in class, please first make a prediction what you think will happen, and then do the experiment and write down what actually happened. And you can do it right underneath your table in a different section called Challenge. Okay, so now that we've done that experiment, we need to explain. We need to make a claim, and we need to use our evidence that we found while doing the experiment to support that claim, and then we have to have our conclusion statement. So I labeled in my science journal, claim, evidence, and conclusion statement. And this statement will go as follows. You will, of course, have your own words in the statement, which I will just say as blank. That is where you will fill in your own ideas. So this statement will say, I claim that blank because blank. I think that this happened because blank. So you're going to make your claim, and then you're going to use the evidence to support that claim, and then the last sentence will be your conclusion. I think this happened because blank. So please pause the video and make your claim, evidence, and conclusion statement now. Thank you. So now we are going to evaluate this experiment. This is the time where you get to look at all of your predictions. You get to look at those first two columns, which you think was going to happen, and then you get to look at what actually happened. You get to write down anything that surprised you, how you think maybe you were tricked in this experiment, and how you think the experiment went. So please pause the video and write these things down and label it evaluate. So our last part of the experiment is extend. This is the time where you get to tell me if there's anything else in this experiment you would like to test, or if there is a theory or method that you